Mr. Bluey, could you give us your title and tell us a little bit about what you do here at Heritage?
Sure. My name is Robert Bluey. I'm the Director of Online Strategy here at the Heritage Foundation, and I oversee a variety of things related to what we're doing online. So that includes social networking, online advertising, redesigning our new website. Pretty much anything that's online runs at some level through me, and in some cases I'm just consulting, and in other cases I'm actually in there, getting dirty, updating the website, putting new headlines on the homepage, and trying to make sure that we get emails out on time.
How long have you been a blogger?
I started blogging around 2005. It's very interesting because what I was doing before that, I was working at cnsnews.com. So in a sense, I was kind of a primitive blogger in that I was constantly updating information, except it wasn't in the blog format. But it was when I was at Human Events, and it was actually right around the time of Supreme Court confirmation under President Bush, when I saw the power of blogging and basically decided, this is something that I think we're missing the boat on and we should be doing. So I convinced some of the editors at Human Events that it was a direction we should move, and we did. And we created our own blog there, and when I came to the Heritage Foundation, I helped them set up the blog here.
Can you give me an idea of the size and scope of the Heritage Foundation's Conservative Bloggers Briefing?
Well, the Bloggers Briefing started back in May of 2006, really as an off-the-record meeting of about a dozen or so bloggers here in D.C., and it quickly became something much larger. Members of Congress started to, ask to attend, and we had bloggers who weren't based in D.C. who wanted to, be on the phone to listen in. So it's evolved to a point where now we have about 40 or so people who attend in person every week, and we also broadcast the show on Blog Talk Radio. We've had guests join us from outside the Beltway, but our primary audience, our primary pull is from people who are here in D.C., so members of Congress, authors, other newsmakers, and I'd say it has a fairly good draw. We're pulling in staffers from Capitol Hill, as well as some bloggers who either work at think tanks or other conservative organizations here in Washington, as well as a few independent bloggers outside the Beltway.
So in your opinion, the briefings have been successful?
Yes, I think that they're very successful in terms of connecting bloggers with newsmakers who they otherwise wouldn't have any interaction with, which was really the goal from the start. It was bringing together people who didn't necessarily have credentials to go cover Congress, just because of the limitations that are placed on them by the congressional press galleries. But by giving them an opportunity to interact in a forum like the Bloggers Briefing, it's their moment to ask questions of lawmakers and authors and other people.
Great. In your opinion, how have new media tools like blogs, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube altered politics?
I think they've had a pretty big impact just in terms of on a number of levels. First of all, from a think tank's perspective, like the Heritage Foundation, we've really had to rethink how we communicate the information that we put out. No longer can we just put out a policy paper and expect people to download a PDF and pack it in their briefcase and take it home and read it. We're now using YouTube and videos to communicate our message. In fact, in the last year, we produced a documentary on missile defense because we found that was a more effective way to convey the message on that particular policy issue. I think in terms of Twitter and Facebook, it's just allowed us to engage with a whole different level of support. And same thing with blogs, by having comments and just having that interaction that you didn't necessarily get with a static web page in the past. And then for organizations that are more activist in nature, obviously there's a whole, the sky's the limit in terms of the impact that you can have with online petitions and contacting members of Congress. And with so many members of Congress being on Facebook and Twitter themselves, you're actually being able to take the message directly to them.
Traditional media or old media has been dominated for a long time by liberals. Does either side have an advantage when it comes to new media?
Well, I think that clearly over the past couple of election cycles, the left has probably done a better job, just in terms of using new media to bring in more money, in terms of fundraising online, get more people to volunteer and organize using tools online. But I don't necessarily think the left has a stranglehold on it. I think that conservatives and have shown in many cases how they can use it to their advantage. I mean, you have people like Matthias Shapiro, who created the 10,000 Pennies video, which has over 1 million views on YouTube. I mean, he's had a profound impact on the spending debate, and he's somebody who came out of nowhere. So, I mean, I think that there are plenty of examples that we can show on the right of how we've used new media effectively. I think when it comes to politics and elections, you know, it's going to be very interesting to watch in 2010 the direction that both President Obama takes it, given the success he had in his successful campaign, and also Republicans and conservatives in general, to see whether they embrace it and to what extent they're willing to try new things and adapt.
Lastly, what do you think will be the next big thing in the new media arena?
Wow, that's a hard question to answer. I always hesitate. I feel like I'm somebody who's always been an early adopter of new things. You know, I was on Facebook in 2005 because some of the interns I was working with at Human Events at the time were in college, and they were talking about this thing called Facebook, and I had a .edu address as an alumni. And I, you know, I tried it, and it seemed cool, but, you know, obviously there were limitations at that point. You didn't have a lot of people on it. Same thing with Twitter. I signed up for Twitter back in April of '07 before many people have even heard of it. So, you know, I think that in some cases you just have to be out there and explore and experiment with new technology. I think it's hard to say what the next big thing will be, but I think that one thing is for sure, as more and more members of Congress get on these, you know, tools, and even members of the press are using Twitter and Facebook as a way to communicate and interact with readers. I think that the sky's the limit, really, in terms of the potential that we have to change the way we communicate and share information. And I think that's really exciting for people as they're looking to new tools and new technologies in terms of getting the message out, which, you know, many of us who are in the blogging world or in the online communications world, that's what we try to do, and that's what's so exciting about my job.